No, that's fine. I wanted that jingle stuck in my head for the foreseeable future. Welcome to the Dave Cave. I, as always, am Dave, and today we're going to be talking the movie that completely forgot Michael Myers, strayed way far left, and left many fans pissed off. So, of course, I'm talking about Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. Halloween 3 was directed by Tommy Lee Wallace, stars Tom Atkins, Stacey Nelkin, and has Nancy Kyes return, not as Annie, but as Tom Atkins' character, Dr. Chalice's ex-wife. It's a very small role, but I had no idea that she was going to be in this one. As for plot, the movie completely leaves Haddonfield, doesn't even mention Halloween. Well, it kind of mentions Halloween a couple parts, but in terms of that, it's a movie within the movie. So I guess we're made to believe that this is more real life than what Halloween was. But basically, you have this mask maker, Silver Shamrock, is doing dastardly seeming things. And after Dr. Chalice is pretty much exposed to that, he goes on the hunt with one of the latest victims, well, presumed daughters. And from there, a very sinister plot's uncovered, and actually has a lot more to do with Halloween than I was expecting it to have. Now, since this is a movie that I've not seen before, it took a while for this really to pick up steam for me, but I was able to find some things that I do like. So let's get into the good. First thing I like in this movie, it's probably not going to come to much surprise, but it's Tom Atkinson's Dan Chalice. He's a fun character. He's a super imperfect hero. He's divorced. He's hinted at that he's an alcoholic. He's a little bit of a womanizer, and he handles his business, so to speak. But he also handles his business. He is a man's man kind of dude, and he gets it done. I like the way he carries himself through this movie, but at the same time, he's not overly butch. He's just a guy doing the right thing. I liked him in this movie. I got very good vibes from Tom Atkins. I don't know if it's just that I like him, or the character, or what, but I liked Dr. Chalice in this movie. Was a very good character, and he was a main force in keeping me interested through the entire plot. The next thing I liked in this movie, and like I said, it did take me a while to really get some steam with it and start to really like it, the scene after Bud's death, after we see what the masks are going to do, and we see all the crazy bug, spider, snake visuals of that scene, which is a very awesome scene, very cool scene. I didn't realize it was going to be that cool. I had a general idea of what the masks were going to do, but after that scene, you have the theme playing, the Silver Shamrock theme, which I've been humming that goddamn thing since I watched this movie. But back to what I was saying. You have all these kids buying the masks, putting on the masks, prepping for Halloween night. And for some reason, of all the hokiness in this movie and all the stuff that was silly and ridiculous, this one scene, like, gave me chills. It was the first time I'd felt any kind of negative, dread, fear, anything in this movie. Up until this point, it's very blah for me. But that scene, watching all these kids, knowing what they're going to try to do, man, that shit got me, especially when they're flashing through all these kids, and boom, they show Dr. Chalice's kids. I was like, fuck, that's right. They have the masks. Oh, this is not going to be good. It's so great because it puts the stakes at much more than just this town in California. It makes it the entire country. All these kids are getting these masks. It's not just going to be this handful of kids in California. They're not just a local, awesome mask front. No, they've been reaching their shit through the entire country. It's an awesome, high-stakes scene that just, it makes the end so much better. For the next thing I like in this movie, it, again, piggybacks on the last thing I was talking about. I loved the backstory, the why of why Silver Shamrock and Cochran were doing what they were doing. I loved it. I love that it links into the whole Celtic holiday. You get a little bit of that from the second one with Samhain, or Samhain, which is actually how you say it. I loved it. I bought into it perfectly. It makes perfect sense. It's been 3,000 years since this gigantic bloodshed. The planets are in alignment. This is the night that it's going to happen. They've been building this empire for years. They knew that it was building to this night. This whole empire made sure their reach was as far as possible so that when it was time to make these masks, it got to as many kids as possible to fucking slaughter them. It's dark. It's dark, and I'm getting excited for it, but it's dark. Absolutely. But I loved it. It was genius. I loved that twist on the story. I had no idea why, what they were getting to, what they were coming for in this movie. But I bought it. I dug it. And I loved it. But like I said, it took a long time for this movie to get any kind of steam, any kind of momentum with me. So let's get into the things I didn't like with the bad. The first thing I didn't like in this movie were the effects, practical or otherwise. For me, they were very dated, and not dated in like there's a charm to it kind of way. Like The Thing, those effects are dated, but they're awesome. They're good. The effects in this were, like they were almost laughable, borderline laughable for most of the movie, so I couldn't really get into them. Even when you have what I originally thought was a kill scene with Marge, her mouth's all blown open and all that, cool in concept, but was like, that looks really bad. It looks really, really bad. And so you have all these moments that are supposed to be awesome, and they are awesome, but when you get the visual of what happened, it absolutely took away from it every single time. The next thing I don't like in Halloween 3 is kind of how much it tries to be the last two Halloweens. Now, I know that they needed to do that. They wanted it to have flavor of the last two Halloweens, but at the same time, they wanted to abandon Michael Myers. They wanted to try to do this crazy shit happening on Halloween anthology, and this was their dip into that pool that completely backfired. But throughout the whole movie, you have these tones where you have the whole, anytime there's a supposed jump scare, where it's like that turn and there's a Michael Myers, or turn and there's a, Sheriff Brackett stinger moment, that hit all the time. That was always there. These mechanical guys walking around, the Silver Shamrock agents, they all walked and moved like Michael Myers. They all had that feel to it. And then the soundtrack, it's much more synthy, very John Carpenter, and not so much 1 and 2, but it felt like Halloween. It had similar beats, had similar tones that made it really lean on Halloween. For me, if this movie had completely abandoned Halloween, completely not have Halloween on the TVs, nothing. If they had gone for broke and had it just be, yep, this is the story we're telling in California about this mask maker around Halloween, I think it would have done a lot better. I think that they could have done so much more with the idea without leaning on Halloween. And if they had made that distinction more, I think a lot of people wouldn't have been so let down thinking, oh, well, they're trying to be Halloween, but it's not Halloween because it's not Michael Myers, but these guys are kind of like Michael Myers. It didn't work. For me, it just didn't. Now, there are only 2 entries in the bad column for me, but those are big things. Practical effects and really the whole blood of the movie being not what it needed to be. Those things really brought the movie down for me. Really, really hindered it from being what it could be. But we're going to switch gears real quick and get into the yellow blood, the wiry guts, the smashed pumpkins, the ugly. When I went to watch this movie, because as I said before, this is the first time I've seen Season of the Witch, ever. I didn't expect this movie to be so fucking brutal. I don't know what I expected, but it was not this. There is some crazy kills in this movie. Holy shit. Ellie's kill at the very end. Shit, what happens to Bud? What happens to Ellie's dad? There's a dude gets his head ripped off, the homeless guy. Holy shit. I don't know how nobody has told me about this movie in terms of brutality. Like, why isn't the word out there on all the crazy shit that happens in this movie? But it's in my fascination with that and just... Actually, I'm impressed. I'm impressed by the carnage in this movie. But it's because of that the practicals are such a letdown for me. As I mentioned before, it's in my bad column. I don't like the practicals of this movie. If they had taken this movie and redone it with real good effects, the kills in this movie, all the insanity, could have been so much better, and still could. They still could. It's not likely, but I think this is one of those movies that, given modern technology, this movie could hit a lot better with audiences than it did at the time. But even with the effects being so meh, many kills in this movie, I was like, holy shit, out loud, being just completely blown away with what happens in this movie. I know I'm gushing at this point, but I loved the kills in this movie. And because of that, this, in all the review series so far, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, so far in the Halloween series, this has been the hardest for me to decide what my favorite kill of the movie is. And it's not going to be the one that you think. It was almost the Bud kill. But my award for favorite kill of the movie goes to Harry Grimbridge. The movie opens on this guy that we don't know at all. He's running from a shadowy figure, shadowy car. He's got a mask in his back pocket, and he gets away. He gets away, gets to the gas station attendant, gets to the hospital. We meet Dr. Chalice. And then the Shadow Corporation, who we learn is Silver Shamrock, gets to the hospital and kills him. Not just kills him, covers his mouth, digs his fingers into his eye sockets, and pulls his skull apart. Oh, that was the first. It's the first human kill in the movie. But that was the first, they go for broke on these kills in this movie. I'm intrigued. I wonder if they're going to do any more, and they did, but this one absolutely dropped my jaw. Harry, you'll be crushed to know your efforts were all for naught. Wow, yeah, that was a bad one. And now it is time for my final thoughts on Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. Going into Season of the Witch, years, decades after this movie came out, I didn't know what I was going to feel about it, because you have all the people that think this is just an absolute dumpster fire shit show, one of the worst in the series. Then you have people that are starting to come around, starting to realize that they like this movie, that this is, if you get away from the idea that it's supposed to be Michael Myers, because it's not, it's actually a decent movie. I'm still not really sure where I fall in that. Right now, I'm in the middle. As I said, this movie took a long time for me to gain any steam. For the first 2 acts, really, I was like, all right, like Dr. Chalice, he's interesting. He's, doing his thing. All right, I'll see where this goes. But when it got to Act 3, and we get all the backstory, they kill a fucking kid, you get just all the insanity of that. Everything that happens in that scene. Like I said, 2 of my favorite things are in the 3rd act. That's when this movie got me. That's when I was like, okay, this is good. I like this. The way the movie ended, I dig that. And the fact that they didn't win, dude, you get an idea of, the stakes of if they don't win, but the fact that they don't, and that it just ends with Tom Atkins yelling to stop it, that was a great end. An absolutely great end. Anybody that can watch the end of this movie and say that that was shit. But this is going to be a movie that I have a feeling is going to grow on me more as I watch it. Like I said, the very first time watching it. So I think I'm going to like it more as I see it. Now that I know where the journey ends, I think the journey getting there is going to be much more interesting to me. And I'm definitely in the camp of people that thinks this movie should get some kind of sequel. They should do something with Halloween 3. They need to do, I don't know if it needs to be a remake or if it needs to be a sequel, but they absolutely have so much potential now that the time has passed. Now that everyone is away from the fact that Halloween 3 is not within the whole Michael Myers universe. It's its own entity within the whole Halloween anthology. I think they could do a lot. I think they could turn a lot of heads, because for anybody who's seen that movie, if tomorrow a trailer came out and it was just pitch black, and then you just heard the bum 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 bum, your skin would go in goosebumps and you would shit your pants. I don't care if you hate this movie or you love this movie. If you heard that, come on. I'm definitely going to have to really figure out where I rank this in the series, though, because, yeah, there's some really good and there is some really bad. Overall, it's not even close to as bad as what I've heard everybody trash it with. But to get a little bit of better idea of where this might land in my rankings, as I said, I did reviews for all the Friday the 13th, all the Nightmare on Elm Streets, and, well, now 3 of the Halloweens. I'll have links to get those started in the description below. Be sure to go check those out. And while you're down there, I have links to my Instagram and Twitter. They're both at @TheDaveCave_. I post over there when I'm not posting here. And that is going to do it for me today. Thank you so much, as always, for stopping by the Dave Cave. I will see you on Tuesday for Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. But until then, take care.